It's like a Baruch Atah. Bro. No, it's not bad. A little rough yesterday. I woke up early this morning just to chazer once again. No, just to chazer again. Yeah. No, I just. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. 8:30. I'll get you out of here by 8:22. All right, fine. So we left off. Good morning, everybody. Purim. Today is Daf Yud Aleph. Right, they say that right, Kalapayche said, nice and low. Whoever sticks out their hand on the day of Purim, right? You give them anybody who gives. They also say it's a time of Kabbalah Satorah. So we're Mavakesh, right? We ask God from Hashem for Haslacha and Limud Torah. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu has to give us, right? Nice and low. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu should give us. So we should be zeicha to continue to learning together with Siyat D'Shmaya. So anyway, left off. And Daf Yud. Today's Daf is Daf Yud, Maseches Yevamos. So yeah, I think you had the wrong page. That was the end. So we had the whole case of trying to fit 15 cases in a Mishnah. Why? Because there was a rule, right? Rebbe wanted to add a case, but we said it didn't fit the rule, and the rule over there was this rule introduced by Reb Chia, right? All of them you can have, right? A case of where two sisters fall to two brothers. One is much of this one, but that one, the other was much of that one, and then the other one, and therefore they can do yibum and to each one. So he had that rule, and it couldn't be said in a certain case. And we said, no, the Rebbe didn't hold of that rule. Now, so he left off at 2 lines to the top. So Ravada Karchina Kame. Right. So the Rebbe has right. So Ravada Karchina Kame the Rav Kana Omar Mishmei the Rava. Says Liyalim Islay the Rebbe Hani Cloudy. Really, Rebbe does hold of these rules. So what about the case of Nusas Aviv? V'Haki Kamarle Ima Nusas Aviv V'Chad Mishkachas La B'Tark La Mishkachas La. The reason why you can't have a case of Ima and Nusas Aviv. So let's just go back to the case for a second. His mother falls to him because what happened? His brother, right? So my brother Bob, right? We're introducing back. Going to get the cups, it'll be easier, right? So this is one of the cases today.
Bob's going to be the other part.
Yeah. So we have Bob anymore. Bob is just me and my dying brother. But I don't want to use my brother's names, right? So you have two brothers, right? You had a father who had two boys, all right? The first one, Ruvain, right? He violated a woman and she gave birth to Ruvain, okay? And then he married somebody else and they had Shimon. Shimon then married the woman who his father violated, all right? This lady, right? He married the one who violated his wife, and then he dies. So then she falls to him, right? Paternal brothers. So she falls to him for Yibum. That's the case of Anusas Aviv.
But that's his mother.
Right. So he's part of Yibum. He can't do Yibum, right? So that case he wanted to list in the Mishnah, right? Anusas Aviv. So the rule that we explained yesterday, right? With two sisters falling to two brothers, one's of this, you could only find one of the rules to apply, not the other one. And the two rules were that the two Yavamas, one was much to this one was much to that one, right? That was one case. And also that they were sisters. Those are the two rules. But you can't find both together. Why? How so? You want to explain? So Yaakov. So what's the case there? See Yaakov on us. So if this guy Yaakov, he violated the two sisters. Okay, so now, right? So you got these are two brothers, right? This guy's Yaakov, right? We'll make Yaakov a little taller. He's the double. He's the father. So he violated, right? This woman, and he violated this woman. All right, and each of them gave birth to two boys. All right. So in this case, what happens? So then there's other brothers, right? He has a wife, right? He has a wife and he has other kids there, right? So right here, he has Levi and Yehuda, and these two women who he violated, who were the mothers of the two brothers, married the other two brothers, right? And they were sisters, right? Now, these guys both die. And the two sisters fall, right? The two sisters fall to the brothers. So in this case, you find the case that what so you find that they're two sisters. That you find. However, you can't do it. Why? Because this guy cannot marry not his mother, but the other lady, right? Who's this guy's mother. Why? Because it's his mother's sister. Because remember, Yaakov violated two sisters. So he can't marry his mother's sister. So therefore, you can't find that case of Anus Zaviv when and if we're talking about a case, once again, go back to the case where Yaakov, instead of violating two sisters, he violated two women that are not related to one another. And then those two women, right, they gave birth to two boys, and then Yaakov had two other boys, and then they married the other two other boys, and those two other boys died, and they fall the Yibum here. So each one is mutter to the other one, because each one, neither one of them are the sister of the other one's mother, right? Or his mother's sister. So as well as the material says so that you can find which mutter for one thing, that one's a chaser. But you can't find when they're both sisters. So therefore, because they're not sisters, right? If they were sisters, they wouldn't have been able to fall to evil. So therefore, since you can't find it, it's no good. So that's why the case is not listed. Really, Rabbi does not hold this rule. Doesn't hold this rule. You don't need to find the case where there's sisters, right, who fall the Yibum, and each one of them could do Yibum. Looks at Kamari, and really the Mishnah does deal with Machloksim. What was that? Then why did he answer with such a sharp reply? Who said, "Oh, when he first suggested is, it looks like you don't have a brain in your head, right?" So the Kamarle, Hachi Kamarle is what he meant to say. Kamarle, my temple diak Masnisin. Why didn't you make a diak in the Mishnah? The Masnisin, Rabbi Yehuda, the author of the Mishnah is Rabbi Yehuda. The Asar Banusas Aviv, right? He actually, his Shita is, right? It's Asar Banusas Aviv. So going back to the case earlier, why is the Nusas Aviv not included? Because if his father violated a woman, okay, and she had Ruvain, right? So the case was Anusas Aviv, the woman who was father violated, is that now this woman goes ahead, marries, he marries another woman, and then they have another son, Shimon, but Reuben and Shimon are paternal brothers or half brothers, right? So in this case, Shimon marries her, and then he dies, so she falls even to his mother falls even with him. But this would not work if you hold that a person cannot marry his father's woman who he violated, Anusas Aviv. So therefore, Shimon would have never been able to marry the woman and died to follow Yibum because he's not allowed to marry her in the first place. You can't marry that woman, right? You can only find a case of where the erva falls to the brother if the brother was allowed to marry her. But the brother is not allowed to marry a woman whose father violated. So he said over there, the Tanavi says over there, we have 6 cases we see in the Mishnah later on that these cases are more chamer. No, these cases are so chamer that all these cases there's Reuben and Shimon marries a certain erva, and then Shimon dies, and then erva falls to Reuben, and we say, you can't do Yibum, right? So those 6 cases are so machmer that your brother is not allowed to marry that woman. Right, your brother. So Shimon was never able to marry that person in the first place. We'll soon see what those cases are. It's Mishnah later on. Right, because they are not allowed to marry the brother. They marry others, but and therefore their tsaras are never are always mutter, because the only time it's tsara is ever forbidden is when in the case of Yibum. And what are those cases? Emo, right? His mother. In other words, his father married a woman. She died, right? Then he married another woman and had a baby through there. So 2 brothers. So that brother can never marry the other mother, right? Because it's Emo, or he can never, right? He marry her because his brother's Emo, Eshes Aviv, right? His father's wife, Va'achais Aviv, and his father's sister. So my Emo. What does it mean, Emo over there? Elim in the Sos Aviv. If it's the woman whose father married, I know Eshes Aviv. That's the Eshes Aviv. Elalav, right? What does it mean? Imo alav anusas aviv means the woman who he violated, so the brother would not be able to go ahead and marry. It says because they can only go ahead and marry others. They can only go ahead and the woman who his father violated can only marry others, and his brothers are not able to go ahead and marry. So man shmias lei now is proof. Man shmias lei the high svar. Who's the one who holds this? This is Rabbi Yehuda. This is the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. The asar anusas aviv. He holds the anusas aviv is asar. And that's the reason why it wasn't listed in the Mishnah. So Amarle, Ravina, Ravashi, the Rabbi Yehuda, Nami Mishkachasla. No, maybe even according to Rabbi Yehuda, you find a why. D'i Abar Benasiv. Let's say, okay, so Yaakov violated Rachel. No, you shouldn't have Rachel. Let's go Rivka, right? Yaakov violated Rivka. Okay? Rivka had Reuven. Rivka had Reuven. Actually, we'll go with Rachel. All right. Yeah. Yaakov violated Rachel, and Rachel had Reuven. Okay, then Yaakov married Leah, right? Leah had Shimon, so they were brothers. Now, Shimon is not. We said before, according to Rabbi Yehuda, is not allowed to marry a Nesavi. He's not allowed to marry Rachel, a woman whose father violated, right? Because his father is Yaakov, and the woman whose father violated her. But let's say he didn't listen. He says, "You know, I'm going to marry her anyways." And he takes her. And he marries her. All right. So in that case, the kedushin works, right? Because it's just an isser. It's not right. We'll say it's an isser there, and therefore, if he dies, he should fall to Yibam. So you do find the case if the guy went ahead and didn't avera and married her, but nevertheless the kedushin is good. So the like Ketani says, no, our Mishnah does not list cases of Yisurim when one went ahead and married a woman even though he wasn't supposed to. And I'm there, Rav Kahana, below D, Nami Mishkachas. He didn't find a case without. Right, if he, as if he did an isser, right? What's the case? Yaakov anas kalaso, right? So if Yaakov, right? So in other words, you can find that that the marriage of, we can find the case where the marriage of the brother was not usser. What case? Where Yaakov violated his daughter-in-law, right? He violated his daughter-in-law. V'holi mimena ben, and his daughter-in-law had a son from him. So basically, right? His original son,
His grandson is also his son.
right? His grandson and his son are brothers.
His grandson
Right.
and son are the same thing.
Right. So he says, right? Well, not really. It's not his grandson because it's his daughter-in-law. So just because it's her kid doesn't mean, yeah. But anyway, fine. Right. So in that case, so what happened? And she falls right to her son, right? And then his son says, "Dad, no more violating my my wife," right? And then she ultimately dies. So he falls to Yibum, to his paternal brother, which right? She falls to Yibum, right? To his son. So migodi asiri, in that case, since we find that she is us, it says anami asira. So Tzara is also asir in that case to do yibum rechalitza. So we're talking about when they're brothers through heter. But we're not talking about brothers through Isra. Over here, this is the case of brothers through Isra because he violated his daughter-in-law. So therefore, we're not talking about cases where two guys are paternal brothers through an Isra. We're only talking about we're brothers, our paternal brothers through permissible individuals, right? Permissible mothers and fathers, or unions, right? Budka Levi Basnis and Nevas Levi found it says the Tani Levi imo pamim pateres sarasu pamim ena pateres sarasu. There are times when one's mother can pater tzara. In other words, basically his mother is an erva, and therefore the tzara goes scot-free. And other times they pater sarasu. Case at house so if his mother was not married to his father, rather it was violated was violated by his father. But if she was married, then she went ahead and married his brother, right? Umeis. That she does not pater tzara because he was never married to her, right? Because it was his father's wife. It was his father's ex-wife. His brother can't marry his father's ex-wife, even if it wasn't his mother, right? However, but it's the other woman, right? My brother Shimon's mother was not someone my father was married to. Rather, it was someone my father violated. I said, then indeed she doesn't marry, which is Moter Me'aviv, Umeis, and dies. So this is the case of the mother falls to the Yibum, and therefore paters Tzara. V'afal pi sheshanu. And even though our Mishnah teaches 15 cases, to go and do. We can also add a 16th case, such as Anusas Aviv, a woman who his father violated. Fine. So he argues. Yeah, so according to Levi says, right. So according to Rebbe earlier, Levi.
Go back to the question.
Right. So the Mishnah, we said, because it's a machlokas, whether Shimon is allowed to marry a Zaviv. So our Mishnah didn't want to list machlokas. But according to Rabbi Yehuda, who says, right, So, or others who argue, they said it would be okay.
That's what they fall back on the Machlekes.
Right. So Amar Le, Reish Lakish the Rabbi Yechanan, Levi Damar, Dinami Ketani. According to Levi, who says, hey, you can go ahead and list cases of, if someone went ahead and did an Isser. Lisni, what about this case? We're introducing Machlekes that's going to basically take us to the bottom of the page. So Lisni, this case. Hacholitz liyavimto. All right. You got two brothers that were married. Okay. Now stuff. Or one brother was married, right? There's two brothers. There's three brothers. There's two other non-brothers. Now, three brothers. Ruvain married a woman. All right. Now, Ruvain dies. So there's Shimon and Levi. Shimon goes ahead and does chalitza, right? She doesn't want to marry him, or he doesn't want to marry her, whatever it is. Removes the shoe, spits, right? That's the Maisa. Now, chalitza is almost like a divorce. But let's say he goes back. He does the chalitza. The chazer v'kitsha. And then he went back and married her. He says, I changed my mind. Let's go ahead and get married. He's to marry her. So let's see what kind of Isser that is. Is the Kiddushin Chal? Is it not? What's going on here?
Is gone. So now he's not Zakut. He can't.
So the Chiyuv is gone. Right. So let's see.
But now there's an Isser.
Now he's not going to marry.
What I'm saying is an Isser.
That's what I'm saying.
So let's see. Because of Vikisha Mace, below Banim, right? And he married her, and then they didn't. Then he married her. All right. And then he dies without sons. Asura. Sazanami Asira. Now Levi is around. Now, what's the story with Levi? Now remember, Levi was the brother of Ruvain also. And he didn't do chalitza. So l'chaira, is she forbidden to him forever? Or no, is he forbidden to her forever? Why? Because that was Ruvain's wife, and he didn't do the mitzvah of Yibum, so now that Isser sort of returns.
Once you did chalitza, you just cut it off.
So that cut it off, but now basically, so she can go free, but maybe she now is the status of Ruvain's ex-wife, and therefore my brother's ex-wife, or Levi, his brother's ex-wife, I can never marry his ex-wife, only in the case of Yibum. This case, but even though this case is the Yibum of Shimon, right? But I still have the Isser of Ruvain's ex-wife. So therefore, since that case is Ruvain's exwife, it's like an erva. Therefore, she is pater, she can go scot-free, and also her tzara, who's with her, also goes scot-free. So it says, I'm going to leave the Rebbe the Fahadin. Because our listing in the Mishnah was cases of where she could marry a brother, and then that brother had another co-wife, and then he died, and then the two of them fell to another brother, right? So each one keeps marrying brothers. But over here, once this happens, she can no longer marry another brother because Reuven's sister is preventing Levi, Yehuda, Yisachar, Zulun, any of them to go ahead and marry this woman because their Isser returns, according to the sheet.
Is that on the brother or on her?
On the brother, I mean,
it's the brother has to. Where does it come from?
He is obligated to take her.
He's obligated.
He's obligated to take her.
You
Right,
let
yeah.
your family members go without
Right.
So it's on the sibling.
So the Gemara says, "I b'leimelei chayvi lavin he the chayvi lavin b'nei chalitza v'ibum ninu." Why didn't you tell like this? Maybe the Isser between this woman and Levi is only a lav. It's not Isser Arias. It's not Isser that she was my brother Reuven's wife, right? Maybe say it's just an Isser of a woman who I did chalitza with. Now I have a separate lav that you can't marry. And since it was only a lav, therefore she be permitted. So my answers were since my I was only answering him. According to me, according to me, as was soon see Rabbi Yechon, according to me, it's only a lav for him to go ahead and marry her. So therefore, it is a chiv kares the fishem tzara, right? Because over there, it's now listed in the case of tzara, because he can't go in that case. and therefore, and therefore, this case, there is no isser of tzara or tzara's tzara. Now, let's see. Itamar. One who does chalitza. So back to the original case, we got three brothers, right? And he dies. So he does chalitza to her, go, you know what? I want to marry you. And he marries her. So Ameish Lakish, him, when it comes to this guy, so is who ain't a chayva chalutza kares. If over there, at that point when he marries her, so ein chayva chalutza, so he is not chayiv kares for marrying her.
Right.
Because he did, she's his chalutza. We'll soon see. Because she was the one who did chalitza with, so therefore he was like the permitted brother. However, but the brother, we're going to explain the machlokes. But the brothers, the Levi and Yehuda, of the chayavin, they are chayav ala chalutza kares. They, if after Shimon does chalitza with her, and then Levi or Yehuda want to go ahead and marry her, that is an isser eshazach. That's an isser erva chayav kares. Or for the also the tzara. Right, and al-tzara, when it comes to tzara, beinu bein achin chayv al-tzara kares, and further they chayv kares. Rabbi Yochanan Amar, beinu bein achin eina chayavin lo al-chalutza kares velo al-tzara kares. No, if Shimon wants to go ahead and marries her, there is no isser. She marries any of the brothers after the chalitza. There is no kares for him or for the brothers or for the tzara. Now, what's his machlokes? My time of the Reish Lakish. What's the reason? According to the Reish Lakish, who says that basically everybody has an Isser Kares except for the guy and the woman, the brother who did a chalitza with her. Amar Kra, the pasuk says, Asher lo yivna. I'm sure I read it wrong. Yibon, I don't know, right? Asher lo yivna. The pasuk says, right? And he goes to the chalitza, but it says, if he doesn't want her, right, remove the shoe, spit on the ground, right, and say, this is what you do to a person that did not build my brother's house, right? So that's, huh? Kach is all right? Fine, good. So they say, Asher La'ivna. So Kevan Shlobana, since he did not build his brother's house, i.e. he did chalitza, right? He basically, there was a rejection there. Shelo Yivna. Therefore, he can no longer build it. There's a new Isser, Lo Yivna, that you didn't build. So Ihu called the couple Lo Yivna. So therefore, there's an Isser, is a lav, a loisa say of he who did not build his brother's house, thou shalt not build your brother's house anymore. So therefore, if he does go ahead and build his brother's house, it's only an Isser lav. But when it comes to the brothers, so no, but it comes to the brothers, so there's a, normally this woman, right, she's married to Reuven, is usher to all the brothers. Right, for good, unless there was a mitzvah of yibum. But once the mitzvah of yibum was taken away, i.e., after chalitza, it goes back to the original isser of Reuven's wife, whether he's married to her now or whether she was married to him. So therefore, comes forbidden. But Allah dida, who, right? The kai b'lo yivna. So over there, he is the kai b'lo yivna. Hatzara k'dekai mikami. So there only he individually has the lav of Leivna, but the brothers are still in the lav of Kares. And when it comes to the tzara, Kedekai Mikami, once again, the tzara is, once that her co-wife, right, did chalitza, there's now an Isser Kares, it goes back to I am Reuven, one of Reuven's two wives, and therefore I am usher to any of his brothers forever. That was the shita of Reish Lakish. Rabbi Yochanan say, in the beginning, right, when the Reuven dies, so any one of these women, the two wives, there's two wives there, either one could do chalitza, could do yibum, right, whichever one they want. Each one could do chalitza, right? They can do chalitza. But now there's a kares. In other words, at one point there was mutter, and now it's kares. Ella ihu shlichusa de achim kavin. So therefore, Shimon, is basically a shaliach for the brothers. So they're all in the group together. And she is shlichus de tzara, and she is like a shliach of the tzara, and she's acting that way. So therefore, in this case, we'll say like this: there's an obligation when Reuven dies right, for one of the wives to go ahead and do yibum or chalitza. Okay, once there's now a chiyuv to go ahead and get married or do chalitza, once that and therefore the isser of Eishes Ach is removed. It's gone because someone do yibum, someone do chalitza. Let's go. Let's get the party going, right? Once one of them do it, then it's just a lab. You can't take her anymore. But it doesn't revert back. You can't lose the isser kares and all of a sudden return because someone did a yibum or chalitza, right? It doesn't go and come back. Once it's gone, says Rabbi Yochanan. It doesn't come back. So therefore, you're never chayiv in this case for kares. So Rabbi Yochanan was the one who says that we're dealing with the case of he was the one who says we're dealing with a case of it's only a lav. So let's look at this brisa. One, there's this chalitza. So we had the two wives here, 4 brothers, and then we have so Ruvain dies and he's married to 2 women, right? And so Shimon does chalitza to one of the wives here, to Rachel. The Chazer B'Kichan says, you know what? I love Rachel. I want to marry her. Umeis, and he dies. Okay. Now there's these 2 brothers, right? Umeis. Sricha chalitza menachem. She falls to these guys, and they have to do chalitza. But she was gone because she never married. She went scot-free because there were 2 wives, only one of them have to go do yibum chalitza. So since her co-wife did it, so she book out. So she's no longer connected to her. Now, so she knew made chalitza. So Bishlam this works well, says Rabbi Yochanan, according to me, because I hold that the reason why she falls to yibum is because there's no longer an isser kares that she was Ruvain's wife. Once Ruvain died, and there was a chiyuv of yibum or chalitza, and then you get rid of that, right? Paka zikasa, right? That gets removed by doing chalitza. So therefore, that isser never comes back of being Ruvain's ex-wife, right? It never comes back, and therefore, when she does go ahead and marry Shimon, it's a good kedushin, and she would fall to the brothers for yibum chalitza from this time because she's not an erva to them anymore. And that's why she's chalitza. According to you, Reish Lakish, why did he chalitza? Why? Because according to you, she's still Isser Kares. If she's still Isser Kares, we learned the number 1 rule that if a woman who falls to you, right, is an Isser Kares, if you had relations with her, therefore there's no yibum, there's no chalitza needed. So he says, according to you, so let's say Reuven is there, Reuven dies. Seifa says like this: there's 2 wives. Shimon does chalitza, right? Does chalitza. Fine. So once she does chalitza, they're done. They're done with the brothers. Goodbye. Levi comes along and marries her. Okay. Levi comes along. So the case until now we had the guy does chalitza, and then the guy marries her. This case, he does chalitza, and one of the other brothers does chalitza. Now, if you say there's an isser kares because she is still the ex-wife of Ruvain, how could she get married to him, right? Right? There's nothing here, right? Now she doesn't fall, right? She doesn't fall. Why? Because it's Isser Kares. So therefore, he was never once Shimon does chalitza. Now there's an Isser Kares with Levi to her. So when Levi marries her and then Levi dies, there was nothing. She doesn't fall to him because she was never married to Levi. That's not a good kedushin. But according to you, Reish Lakish, according to Rabbi Yochanan, who says it's only a lav, it's not Isser Kares. Amayin lav klum. Why should there be no chalitza required? He should be able to do chalitza.
So if it's only a lav, then the kedushin fall.
Yeah. So let's see. So Amar Rav Sheshes says, Seifa us and Rabbi Kiva. The way we get out of this, because the Seifa goes like Rabbi Kiva. The Amar ain't kedushin toifsim b'chayvi lavin. This is a very, very, very important machlokas throughout the entire Seder Nashim. There's a machlokas as when the guy is forbidden to a woman, is the kedushin chal or not? He marries her, so right. So I go ahead, I marry this chair, right? That's nothing. That does not work. Okay. Same thing if I marry my mother. If I give her kedushin, actually, it does nothing. You cannot marry your mother. Kedushin not chal. But let's say a woman was a mamzeres. Now it's only a lav. You can't take a mamzeres, right? It's only a lav, right? Or a kohen gadol, or a kohen to a divorced woman. It's only a lav. So if he marries her, the kedushin still works. It works. So machlokes is what happens with the children, but the kedushin works, right? So, but according to Rabbi Akiva, even if it's a lav, the kedushin doesn't work. It's like I married a chair. It's like I married my mother. So according to Rabbi Akiva in this case, the reason why, even though there was only a lav between him and her, there's no kedushin. Therefore, when he dies, she doesn't fall to even because she was never married to him because he married a tree, right? It doesn't make a difference.
So what's the relationship?
A chair. So,
What's the relationship to him again?
let me just finish with one line. I can explain. The least is Rabbi Akiva. So why does the Mishnah over there say, this is Rabbi Akiva? According to Rabbi Akiva, in love, klum, kasha. So it remains a kasha. It should have said, you're right. If it's going to Rabbi Akiva, it should have said Rabbi Akiva, but it didn't. So what was your question? We'll stop here. Tomorrow it's Hashem. I guess normal time. Normal time, tomorrow regular.
What was her relationship to him?